Mm.
Hi there, this is Rosemary Dempsey from GoCo. So happy to have you all on the line here today to hear our webinar for the launch of Phase 3 of Generation Wild, our effort to reconnect Colorado kids and their families with the outdoors. The partner network for Generation Wild has just been growing and growing over time, and we're so excited at that growth and at all the custom partner programs we have going on. Thanks to all of you who are new to the partner fold for joining us today, and to all the old-time partners who continue to stick along as we share this movement together. I'm joined here in the office with a few of my colleagues and partners: Victoria Nava-Watson, Communications Officer for GoCo, Christina Wilder, our Account Supervisor from Sukul Advertising and Design, and the star of today's show, Mike Sukul, Creative Director and Founder from Sukul Advertising. Feel free to ask questions through the chat functionality anytime during the webinar, or we can open up the mic at the end for questions too, so we can keep it pretty open. Of course, you can always email me if you have questions about GenWild Partnership after the webinar itself at rdempsey@goco.org, or email us at the GoCo General Inbox info@goco.org. It'll all get to us. Just to let you know, it would be a good help to us if you could mute yourselves during the presentation, because we will be recording the webinar for all the partners who couldn't join today but would like to listen in later. And yeah, let us know if you have any technical difficulties or questions along the way by using chat. So over to Mike from Sukul Advertising and Design.
All right, thank you. Let's get started. The Generation Wild movement this summer is going to do some really interesting things, really interesting and new ideas to launch. But this campaign is the same premise as all the others. Our goal has never changed, and that's to change an entire generation of kids. Kids today spend less than 7 minutes outside playing in unstructured play, and this movement wants to change that. And we have seen that it has been very successful to date. For those of you that might be new out there, we have done a longitudinal study with Omni Institute over the last 18 months to 2 years. And this is what the study has indicated in the last round of the study, is that, one, moms are highly aware of the campaign and they are sharing it. In fact, they found that 73.8% of moms surveyed were familiar with specific elements of the Generation Wild campaign. And 49% of those moms had indicated that they had shared the campaign with someone else. We also see the attitudes are shifting because of Generation Wild. 75.7% of moms agreed that Generation Wild encouraged the idea that time outside is beneficial to their child's development. We see that 66.3% of moms agreed that Generation Wild encouraged them to get their kids outside more often, and 65.4% of moms agreed that we gave them a lot of ideas to get their kids outside more often. The other key finding is that moms familiar with the campaign really did report that their children were engaging in more outside activities than moms that were not familiar with the campaign. In fact, 50% of moms reported having participated in an activity last summer with Generation Wild. And then nearly 2/3 of those had reported having the list of 100 things to do. And of those, 60% indicated that their child had already engaged in 31+ activities from the things to do list. We also saw that we asked specific questions about specific tasks. Things were on the list, like rolling down a hill. And we found that all of those activities also increased with moms that were familiar with the campaign. And overall, Omni found that moms that were familiar with Generation Wild reported an increase in connectedness to the outdoors. They did a composite scoring of attitudes and behaviors around the outdoors and came up with this connectedness index. So they saw that moms that were familiar with it became more connected, but they also saw that those that were unfamiliar with Generation Wild reported a decreased connection to the outdoors. So, while all the environmental factors that we have to deal with are still there and are still pushing kids away from the outdoors, this campaign is actually connecting them to the outdoors and getting them more engaged in the outdoors. So that's what we've done to date. The campaign's shown good traction. It has proven itself that it is actually working and changing behaviors. And now what we'd like to talk about is what we're going to be doing in 2019, because we have an exciting, action-packed summer and year ahead of us. So this is kind of how the campaign is going to roll out. Starting in June and July through September, we're going to be running a multimedia campaign that's going to be designed to inspire and motivate people. Then in November and December, we actually are going to run a holiday campaign this year. We think there's kind of a unique opportunity to communicate to people right before the holidays. And underneath all of this, there will, of course, be a social and digital campaign that is going to become the resource for ideas and inspiration to get outside and play with your kids. So we'll talk about each one of these three campaigns as we go on. The campaign will be an integrated campaign, and that will work on a combination of paid media, shared media, owned, earned, and non-traditional experiential media. So we're going to use all these different tricks in our bag to get the message out to moms and families and kids across the state of Colorado. So the campaign that just recently launched, this launched a few weeks ago, started out like this. People throughout Colorado started seeing sightings of this weird creature out in the forests and in the trail systems throughout Colorado. And people started to report on social media these weird things that were going on across Colorado. And they started to ask people if they knew what this creature was. This woman says, recently went out for a hike and we heard something moving around in the forest. At first we thought it was a bear or a mountain lion, but then we saw a big white creature. Got a couple of shots before it took off. Any ideas what it is? And people started to weigh in. And this started to get a lot of traction across social media with people weighing in saying, was it a mountain goat? Was it a Yeti? Well, I think it was a Yeti. Well, I thought it was a narwhal, or, there were all different kinds of thoughts about what this creature was. And this went on for several weeks in social media. And then finally, all the people that did the initial post came clean and revealed that really what they saw out in the forest was a creature called Wilder, and that this is part of the Great Outdoors Colorado Generation Wild campaign for this year, and that there is going to be a movie, a short film made about Wilder. So I'd like to introduce you to Wilder. I'd like you to meet Wilder. He is this 8-foot tall, part goat, part Yeti, all friend of a creature that is going to go out and inspire kids and families to get outside and really rediscover the imagination and the discovery of the outdoors. He's also going to work to bring a stewardship message across the state of Colorado. Now, the way we're going to use Wilder is several different ways. We have created a short film that stars Wilder. And then, as you see, the campaign started out with social media push, but there's even more social media and a bigger push now behind that to get the film out. And then Wilder's going to be going out to events, and there will be an experiential component where people get to meet Wilder. And finally, there will be a lot of branded merchandise that really starts to let people engage in the campaign and wear and show their support for the campaign. And so the next piece I'd like to show you is the short film that we made, and it is called Wilder, A Tale of Love for the Outdoors. And here's the film. So that's Wilder, A Tale of Love for the Outdoors. And it's going to start airing, it has started airing on Monday night across television on networks. There is a 2-minute version that will air on networks. And then the full-length version lives on generationwild.com. So people can go there to see it. So to get people to the longer version of it, there's a series of other forms of media that are driving them to it. This is a billboard campaign that runs in the metro areas of Denver and Colorado Springs, featuring this illustration of Wilder with Discover What's Out There, Wilder, playing at generationwild.com. There's a wallscape in downtown Denver by the Performing Arts Center that starts to have some of these same messages from the campaign. Come out wherever you are. A tale of love for the outdoors, and discover what's out there. But one of the most exciting things about Wilder is not only are kids going to be able to see, Wilder on TV and online and in movie theaters, but they're going to start to get to meet Wilder at events throughout the state. And this was actually at the opening night, the world premiere, if you will, of Wilder. It was at 4 Mile Historic Park here in Denver, and this was just kind of how he is starting to go out into the world to meet people and get his picture taken along with folks. On Monday night, he was at Infinity Park in Glendale, and there the movie was shown before they have a movie night. Wilder, the extended version, was shown to the audience there at Infinity Park, and then Wilder got to interact with all the kids and the families that were there at the park. And what we want to do is when we go out to an event with Wilder, we have a lot of different swag items and a lot of different things to let people take the message home and hopefully share it with friends. And so we have a poster series that features Wilder, A Tale of Love for the Outdoors, Wilder now playing at generationwild.com. Or come out wherever you are, or discover what's out there. Get your goat on and undomesticate your kids. So we have messages not only about the film Wilder, but also to help remind people that they need to get their kids outdoors. And then at these same events, we continue to pass out the list. To date, we have passed out 300,000, and we'll be passing out 75,000 more lists this summer. We'll be giving away stickers and things for kids like tattoos that feature our creature Wilder. And then there will be a lot of different swag items, from hats to T-shirts that kids and adults alike can wear. And all of this drives to the site, generationwild.com. And it's exciting what we're doing on the site this year, because not only when you get there, can you click and watch the Wilder film, but then we're going to go into a lot greater depth of content on the site than ever before. So we're going to talk to people about the problem that kids only spend, less than 7 minutes a day outdoors. But then we're also going to start to help them to understand what the benefits of playing outside are, and we're going to give them strategies, give the parents strategies from known experts around the country to get their kids outside. And then we'll continue to give them a lot of ideas. In addition to the list of 100 things to do, we have a series of backyard hacks that are just fun, kind of playful things that they can create and do out in the backyard. We will also in here have kind of a library of the books and resources that parents can go to. We also have those on all the Facebook pages. We'll talk about the communities, and we'll talk about all the different Inspire, which are now Generation Wild communities throughout the state of Colorado, and link them to the amazing work that all the coalitions throughout the state do for Great Outdoors Colorado. And then finally, we'll talk about the movement, and we'll talk about how Generation Wild truly is starting to change this entire generation of kids. So we're going to have a action-packed summer with Wilder. He's going to be going to a lot of events throughout the state. We'll be driving people to the website, but then we're also going to drive them to our social media platforms. And on our social media platforms, one of the campaigns that we'll be running there is called Discover What's Out There. And you know, when you look out, the world is really this sort of amazing place that's filled with all this cool stuff. But people tend to get, so busy that they walk right by it. Well, this campaign is going to try to change that. And we're going to try to remind people of all the really cool, interesting stuff that's outdoors. So we'll talk about nature facts and different things that are going on. We'll talk about specific migrations, like monarch butterflies as they move through the states, or tarantulas that migrate in the southeastern corner of the state. And we're going to try to inspire people to go out and see these things throughout out Colorado. And then in a campaign that we're doing with Colorado Parks and Wildlife, we have some googly eyes that go up in various trees throughout different state parks. And again, we push that out through social media so people know where they are and can go check those out. And then as we start to get closer to the holiday season, one thing we noticed is that during the holidays, people are in a mad rush, rushing around, buying up every toy in sight for their kids. And what they don't consider is that what they give their kids for the holidays really have an effect on what their kids do over the next several months. And, a lot of those gifts end up being video games or movies. And so we want to shake that up a little bit, and we want to remind people that what they should really give their kids is the love of the outdoors. And so we're going to package up some big boxes that look like they're pieces of the outdoors, trees and rocks. We'll convert the website to push this idea of, give your kid the love of the outdoors. And then all this will be promoted throughout a digital campaign that will say things like this: costs nothing, means everything. Generation Wild, give them the love of the outdoors. Or another one that is the perfect gift for gamers. And then we'll try to even create some boxes that could be distributed to some retailers that, again, would carry these same messages and remind people that really what they need to give their kids is the love of the outdoors. So throughout 2019, this is kind of how the campaign will start to grow in Colorado. We're going to expand this year the reach of the media, but we're going to maintain a very high frequency. We'll deliver 27 weeks of media from June through December. 10% of the media budget will be directed to the Spanish-speaking audience, and that's Spanish only. There's a greater percentage, of course, that is directed at the Spanish population here in Colorado. And then when we start we'll use television. Again, this will be to build really quick frequency or quick reach of the message. This will also allow us to get our message into certain event broadcasts like Bronco games and other very family-friendly viewing opportunities for Wilder. It'll be a combination of broadcast and cable. We're also going to be in movie theaters. This Friday, the Lion King launches, and the Wilder film will run prior to the start of The Lion King. And it'll run on 606 screens across Colorado this summer. The out-of-home, we showed you some examples of the billboards and wallscapes that are up. That'll, again, drive really high awareness and high frequency numbers. We'll use digital display to really extend this to all the corners of Colorado and make sure that we can really build frequency across the state. Digital video is going to be a key component of it. There are 3 different cuts of the Wilder video. One is a 15-second teaser that just directs you to generationwild.com to see more. One is a 2-minute version, which will run on television and in movie theaters. And then, of course, we have the long-form 3-minute version that will run as well. Paid social, we'll be pushing this out through our Facebook and Instagram and paid campaigns on those mediums. We can really get to a lot of the core audiences that we try to target with this campaign through our social devices. And then if we look at the campaign as a whole, we should be delivering 41 million impressions and we'll cover 100% of Colorado's geography with the campaign. There are not statewide numbers for some of the measurements, but here this kind of shows you the percent of the audience, and our core audience is still women, 25 to 54. So these numbers represent how effective we'll be at reaching that audience. 96% reach in Denver, 98% in Colorado Springs, and 91% in Grand Junction. And again, that we should reach about 96% of women in that in that age group with this, and they will see it, a frequency of about 15.4 times in Denver, 19.3 times in Colorado Springs, and in Grand Junction, they'll see our message 5.8 times. And to give you a little more perspective on that, if we were to take each seat in Mile High Stadium and that was equated to one impression, we would fill it to capacity 539 times with women 25 to 54. That's about 3 times per day between now and December. So this will be a really aggressive paid media schedule, but that's only the start of it. In addition to that, we have public relations effort that is out there now. We distributed the 100 Things to Do list through Littleton Public Schools. There's a new section on the website that is very press-friendly and to get our news out to different entities. This morning at 10:30, I believe, we were on Colorado and Company on 9 News with Wilder and Jackie Miller. That was the star of that show from GOCO. And so Wilder will be placed in outdoor movie venues throughout the state, and we did have the VIP party on July 12th that some of you may have been at. Wilder will be traveling throughout the state, probably about 10 events around Colorado, outdoor movie nights, family-friendly festivals. In 2 weeks, I believe, we will be at the Olathe Sweet Corn Festival in Montrose, Colorado with Wilder, and then we'll continue to tour the state with him. We'll look at some sporting events and how we can capture some awareness of some of those crowds, and we'll get Wilder out there. In addition to Wilder, we also have the Fort, which we have a full summer schedule of. It started in Berkeley, the Berkeley neighborhood. It is in Jeffco currently. We'll be at Lyons and Sterling to close out the year. And we already have 3 locations that have lined up for the 2020 schedule of the Fort. If anybody out there has any ideas or would like to have the Fort, at the end we'll give you the contact information to do that. And the Googly Eye installations are in a partnership with Colorado Parks and Wildlife this year, and you can see the schedule here. They go from Bar Lake and end in Golden Gate State Park. In addition to these, we are distributing the lists, another 75,000 lists throughout the state, and the majority of those are courtesy of the Boys and Girls Club and the state library systems. We're doing a partnership with them to get the lists out to kids across the state. We have a Summer of Adventure, which is another partnership with Denver Public Library, which we reach about 20,000 plus kids, distribute lists and some other Generation Wild swag. Big Green Colorado is yet another partner. They are allowing us to get into their garden program. This is an incredible organization that we get in under-resourced schools throughout the state with a package of a garden program, and again, distribute more lists for that. And this year we're doing an outdoor stewardship program with our partners from Volunteers for Outdoor Colorado. And VOC is going to take Wilder out on the road, and they're going to go to roughly about 10 events and distribute the message and very specific stewardship messages throughout the state using Wilder as a platform. As we have talked about before, we have a very packed digital and social platforms and all the different media that is owned by Generation Wild. That includes Instagram as well as Facebook. And over the years, we have generated now a ton of content throughout these campaigns. And we truly would encourage all of you to share in this content and use it in any way that you can see fit. The campaign with Generation Wild is really starting to make some movement, as we talked about. It is uniting people and organizations throughout the state of Colorado. And in this effort, the partnership list, as Rosemary said, continues to just skyrocket because of the work that all of you are doing out there. And this is really helping us to get the message out and to reach more kids and to have a bigger effect. And all of this is accelerating change throughout the state. Everybody is becoming more successful because of Generation Wild. Programs are easier to fill, and we're getting more kids engaged in the outdoors. And finally, Generation Wild is scalable. Whereas so many programs can be limited by the numbers of volunteers or the space you have available, Generation Wild is a scalable event that allows us to reach some of the hardest to reach communities, the people that aren't interested in going outside, but we can get in and communicate to them, and we can scale this across the entire state. So it's been very effective in those terms. And finally, Generation Wild was made to share. And so here are some ways that all of you can continue to engage in the program. On generationwild.com/downloads, there you can get the short film, the 3-minute Wilder A Tale of Love for the Outdoors film. You can get the Wilder trailer. It's a 15-second teaser. You can get copies of the posters, PDFs of the posters to distribute or print. On social media, you can share our social content about Wilder and about Discover What's Out There. We can also get posts for your own events so that they can go up to encourage people to get out and to attend those events throughout the state. If you contact Lauren at GOCO, she can hook you up with all kinds of swag, and if there's any events out there that might be an awesome event that we should be out, please let Lauren know. And then finally, if you do post anything, please tag it, hashtag Generation Wild to everything so that we can create this giant movement throughout the state, and we can start to tie all these different messages and awesome organizations together as we start to change this entire generation of kids. And with that, I will turn it back over to Rosemary.
Yeah. I just want to let you know on the swag front too, some of you might have already received an email that we're sending swag your way if you're part of a coalition, and soon many other types of entities will also be invited to fill out a Google form, a simple Google form that asks you to fill out your mailing address and information about you, and asks you to opt in or out of receiving certain types of swag. So if you haven't already gotten a message like that, you will soon, so that you can help share the love through the form of stickers, tattoos, and posters and other cool items that are part of this campaign. As Mike mentioned, this is a campaign that we made to share. When you share content or you share swag or you share the message of Generation Wild, you are a participant in this movement, and we're so grateful to all of the organizations and individuals who have already made it such a success. It's such a thrill to us to turn up at events now and to hear, I've already got the list, or it's on my fridge and I'm working my way through it, and that just is happening more and more. And if you aren't already following us at Generation Wild Colorado on Facebook and Instagram and haven't also joined our Facebook group, which is different from the page because you can actually interact with other parents and grandparents and caregivers in the lives of kiddos, please do so. That's Raising Generation Wild, and we're rapidly approaching 1,000 members, very active, enthusiastic members that have great ideas for things to do outside, share events with each other, and share photos of their kids doing fun stuff in the outdoors. So be sure to join in on those channels. Does anybody have any questions about this summer season campaign or how to participate in the movement? Just giving everybody a second in case you want to fill out the chat functionality. But of course, if you don't have any questions today, you can always be in touch with any of us here at GOCO, whether it's Lauren about swag or Victoria. We'll field any inquiries into info@goco.org. And I'm available too at rdempsey@goco.org.
Question.
Okay, great. Sounds like we got a question.
How do we request Wilder at an upcoming event?
Yeah, so if you would like to have Wilder, thanks for the question. The question is, how can we have Wilder come to one of our events? The best way to do that is to email Lauren at lleasy@goco.org, whose name is up on the screen there, and just tell her a little bit about the event, the date, the location in Colorado, and what the event hopes to achieve. If you can also throw in some information around numbers of people who might attend, although we're going to all kinds of different events, but provide some context, that would be a big help to us because the Wilder event calendar is filling up in a good way.
We have another question.
Okay, another question.
How do we get Gen Wild in our own communities?
That's a really good question, which is how do we get Generation Wild in our own communities? So there really are two facets to the Generation Wild program. One is the on-the-ground work of the 15 coalitions already happening in urban and rural communities, all the way from Lamar on the Eastern Plains into the San Luis Valley, where we have 2 coalitions, out to Delta and Garfield counties. We have great groups of organizations of all types representing youth-serving nonprofits, health-based organizations, schools, a variety of types of entities, all working together in this collaborative way to elevate the youth voice and to really do some remarkable work in terms of building new outdoor programs for folks to participate in and new places to play. Those grants to those communities, the 15 Generation Wild communities, the grants were called Inspire grants, and they went out the door in the last few years. And so right now, the GOCO board is considering what the strategic plan for what the next 5 years for GOCO will look like and what, if any, involvement in this ongoing youth and nature movement the organization will have. So from now until June 2020, the board will really be digging into that and considering what the possibilities on that grant-making side of the program look like. Of course, on this marketing and communications program side of Generation Wild, the best way to get involved is to contact us so that you can show your partnership on the website, so that you can learn more about where and how to share content from the program, so that you can share swag, including lists of 100 things to do and all the cool Wilder materials that are backed by this major media campaign this summer. So there are lots of ways for organizations to get involved, and sometimes those partnerships can be very customized or tailored to our shared missions. And so much like we've done with Big Green Colorado and with Colorado Parks and Wildlife and a lot of the other entities in the fold, we'd love to have a chat with you about how we can best align. Any other questions? Yeah, you can learn a little bit more about whether there's a Generation Wild coalition or community near you at generationwild.com/communities. And if you ever have a question about what's on the horizon for those communities or the coalition work, you can always contact us at info@goco.org as well. We're so proud to be partners with you all in this movement. Please feel free to reach out. Let us know what you think. We're wide open to all kinds of feedback and commentary, questions that you have as we head into this 3rd season and beyond. Thank you so much.
Hey.